Here we go. We are locked on live here. Locked on 49ers, Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker. Shout out to everybody already jumping on the stream. I'm sure we're going to get nice and full here. And actually, I got to shoot out the link to this to all the folks out there. But I'm pumped for this Week 12 matchup, Croc. This is a big one. We've talked about it all week long. 5-5 49ers, 5-5 Vikings. And really it's super important. It's basically a playoff game, right? That's the vibe we're getting here. This is nearly a must win for the 49ers. They can lose this game and still win some games and get into the playoffs, but this one is huge because this is a team you're going head to head against, and the Vikings would have a huge advantage, and you'd be behind in tiebreakers as well because conference record is one of the tiebreakers here, and the Niners are 4-4 with the conference record. The Vikings are 4-2. That tiebreaker will be tough against a number of teams in the NFC if the 49ers lose this game because they would be sub 500 as far as conference record goes. And that's the tiebreaker. And that would be really something they might need for that 7th seed. So there's numerous reasons why this game is super important as far as 2021 playoff berth goes.
Does head-to-head matchup factor into tiebreaker as well?
You know what's funny is I think it's not the first tiebreaker, surprisingly. But I have to double check on that. I see you guys in the comments. If you in the comments know exactly how the tiebreakers break down, I feel like I go through this every year and I always forget every year. And every once in a while they tweak things. And I think conference record takes precedence over head-to-head tiebreaker. I think, but I'm not positive. It doesn't seem like it should, but I remember having conversations about that before, where it didn't make sense because a team that had beat another team didn't have the better seed.
So there's only factor in if it's like divisional, because if you're in the same division,
yeah,
then the head-to-head does matter more, right?
Yes, as far as I know, it does. Yeah.
See everybody pumped for the game. I'm excited
Yeah.
too, man. I mean, a couple weeks ago, it was looking, real grim in 49er land. 49ers weren't even being talked about as a potential playoff team, but you rattle off 2 wins in a row. And I was telling people, there were a lot of things being talked about around the 49ers organization. Kyle Shanahan, is he the guy? But, we said it, man, winning cures all. And you go on a 2-game winning streak and things start to look like it's coming together. You win a couple games in dominant fashion, and you're here now where you're playing in a game that's maybe the biggest game of this weekend. Now, the Packers-Rams game is pretty big as well, but I think this one, just because of the teams, similar positions, both teams on a 2-game winning streak, trying to move forward with it, man. Like this is huge. I'm excited about it. I haven't been this excited about a game for the 49ers in a long time. The other games I was just watching them, like, okay, I'm watching the game, okay, cool. Even Jaguars, but now once you win 2 games, it's a little bit different.
Okay, here we go. I'm looking at the wild card tiebreakers right now, and if there are only 2 clubs that are tied, then head-to-head is the first tiebreaker. So it is head-to-head first. Then it's best winning percentage in games played within the conference. So it's number 2 after head-to-head. So this is huge for the 49ers to get up head-to-head and not be 2 games behind, basically the wild card at this point. If they lose this game, it's a 2-point swing instead of a 1-point swing. That's the way I'm looking at it. Here's the tiebreaker. Actually, let's go through the tiebreakers here. If 2 teams are tied, by the way, shout out to Kurt Warner in the chat. I don't think that's the Kurt Warner, the running back, or the former NFL quarterback. Neither Kurt Warner, I don't think that is. But shout out to this Kurt Warner. And if it is the Kurt Warner, one of the Kurt Warners, thanks for dropping in. Let's see here. So here's, head-to-head, then conference record. Dustin's got it right here. Head-to-head, conference record. Number 3, then, if those are tied, goes to, which is not going to be tied with the Vikings, but it could be tied with a team like, say, the Saints, someone that they don't play, the Panthers. Best won-loss percentage in common games. If there's a minimum of 4. So if there's not 4 common games, then the head-to-head in common games does not become the third tiebreaker. Next tiebreaker is strength of victory, then strength of schedule. Then 6 is best combined ranking among conference teams in points scored and points allowed. 7th tiebreaker, if all of those don't determine it, best combined ranking among all teams in points scored and points allowed. 8th is best net points in conference games. Then best net points in all games. 10th is best net touchdowns in all games. And if it gets past the 10th tiebreaker, the 11th tiebreaker is a good old-fashioned coin toss.
So here are a couple of things that jump out to me listening to that. One, this definitely is a huge game just for the head-to-head aspect of it, and you definitely want to, have own that tiebreaker with the Vikings. You also own the tiebreaker with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are kind of right there on the cusp of things as well. I think the Eagles today play. Gosh, who they playing? I just saw it because I just saw it. Can't think of who they're playing, but I know they're favored right now. But Philadelphia Eagles play today. Like you own the
Eagles are
tiebreaker
playing
with
the
them.
Giants, I think.
Giants. Okay, so
Yeah.
awesome. You own the tiebreaker with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we don't want to look too far ahead, but you have the Los Angeles Rams, who currently are on a 2-game losing streak. I think they have 3 losses, right? And they play the Green Bay Packers today in Wisconsin. So if they lose that, now we're talking about being 1 game behind the Rams. And you have 1 victory against them. You played them last week. I mean, that's something that, that game might really mean something. I mean, who would have thought? So, yeah, man, like obviously every win right now is crucial, but those head-to-head matchups and things like that really going to play out towards the end of this as it pertains to seeding.
Oh, they're gonna be massive. Every game is huge, but this one especially when you get a chance to knock off the head-to-head and you get a chance to jump up in maybe conference record, and there's just so many different things that make this super important for the 49ers. And I'm looking at the schedule here for Week 12 and letting some more people jump into the live chat here as we get ready for all the Week 12 games. That's one of them that's in the early 10 a.m. schedule for us West Coasters, Eagles at Giants. That's important. So you guys have become New York Giants fans today. You're rooting against those Eagles. You're rooting against the Falcons as well. I think the Falcons are out of it at 4-6, but just in case, you're probably rooting now for the Jaguars, who we saw the 49ers decimate last week. Looking at the rest of the early game schedule, if we're trying to root for somebody, Panthers, definitely you're a Dolphins fan today, rooting against those Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton. That's the team I'm most worried about right now. In the afternoon games, there is Saints. Oh, Saints already played. So Saints already lost on Thanksgiving. So that one's out of the way. So that one was a huge for the 49ers and helped them out. The Niners really were helped out quite a bit by that Saints loss. The Niners, they're in charge of their own destiny too. So
Yeah.
as much as you're rooting for some of these other games and you're looking at tiebreakers, the Niners, if they handle their business, which they should, if they're the team we thought so I think we kind of overrated the 49ers coming into the season. Then maybe when they were playing so bad, we underrated them because of the disappointment that they weren't that team we thought they were coming into the year. They're somewhere in between. But if they're the team we still think they should be, and the team they showed that they were the last 2 weeks, they should be able to handle their business and just go earn that spot. And we shouldn't have to worry about tiebreakers and other teams' records, right, Croc? Is that the vibe you're getting with these 49ers? Go handle your own business, and you're going to be in.
I think everyone's looking to this game as to like really confirm that we are who we thought we were heading into this year. And maybe, like you said, maybe overestimated the team a little bit, but they win this game. I think they kind of get back into that spot where you're like, okay, no, this is a good football team. This is a team that can go out and potentially beat any caliber of team, especially with the Vikings right now. They're hot. I was looking at some of the teams and the standings and things like that. It's so wide open. Everyone has these weird losses. Cowboys were a team a couple weeks ago, if you ask me, I'd say they might be the best team in the NFL. Now the Cowboys, I'm looking at them like they might not be good. It's so wide open. So if the 49ers are going to make a run right now, it's so important. And again, a game like this against the Vikings, I think that lets us all know, like, all right, 49ers, they're really here and they're serious.
This is a good point, too, about the tiebreakers, because that's the conference thing that comes into play. So if the Niners lose to the Vikings, they fall back to that head-to-head with the Vikings. They're sub-500 record now, and they're sub-500 with conference record, too. So it's just a domino effect of this one game. So that's how massive this one really is for the Niners. Niners beat, let's see, Niners are 4-4, right? Yeah, 4-4. So they've beaten 4 NFC teams, and they've beaten the Jaguars in the AFC. Those are their 5 wins so far. So 4-4 in the NFC are those San Francisco 49ers. A lot of teams, yeah, a lot of people want the 49ers to run the ball. I'm with you. They should be able to run the ball. And I think that's one of the huge keys here in this game, because don't get behind and you can be that bully again. It's setting up well for that. And if the 49ers win the toss, I expect to see one of those, dozen play, maybe not a 20 play drive, but just run. They should be able to run the ball. And it's up to Jimmy Garoppolo. If the Vikings are going to sell out against the run, he's got to find those open windows and he's got to make some throws. He's got to keep those third downs alive. That's been what they've done the last couple of weeks, and they're going to have to continue that formula, I think.
I do want to say this because I hear a lot of the 49ers have to win that way. And I don't think so. I think obviously like that's the ideal way. But with Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback, I've seen the 49ers win any way that they have to. I've seen him win in shootouts. I've seen him win in ways where maybe, he didn't have to throw the ball as much like we've seen over the last couple weeks. I've seen him win while turning the ball over multiple times in a game. So there is a more ideal way that the 49ers have to play to be able to win this game. But it's not the only way. I kind of want to put that out there. Everybody just thinks you have to completely take the ball out of Jimmy's hands for you to have an opportunity to win the game. And I don't think that's the case, especially when you play against a team like the Vikings, who the Vikings defensively are not good. Their offense gets a lot of, the highlights and the credit for everything that's going on with them on their 2-game winning streak and why people are so high on the Vikings. It's all about the offense and the explosibility of it. But the defense has been bad, and they're missing like every defensive lineman up front. Like, this is a team where I think the 49ers should be able to have their way with, whether it's Jimmy throwing for 150 yards or him throwing for 320 yards.
By the way, shout out to Doug, who is back from maternity leave, and I hope everything is healthy and happy with his family through the holidays, and he's in charge of all the video and production stuff here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and we're all set up here with I love this YouTube channel, by the way, Crocky. This is fun. I know you've been doing the YouTube thing for a while, but this is really I've been mostly an audio guy my whole life, recording music and doing radio and producing and on-air stuff. But the video thing is actually pretty fun. I'm enjoying this. And I like the live stuff, seeing everybody jumping in the chat here. Trey Lance. We going to see Trey Lance today? Maybe just jump out to a huge – because Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to put Trey Lance in unless the season is mathematically over or the game is mathematically over. So you got to be up like 4 or 5 scores or else Shanahan doesn't want to put him in, right? So you got to go up like 56-12 going into the fourth quarter. Then Trey Lance can play.
Or if Jimmy Garoppolo is just so bad that you have to put him in, which I don't bank on being the case. And I think more times than not, we've seen this year, Jimmy Garoppolo typically plays well enough for you to win the game. So yeah, I think there's a slim chance. And I was on Twitter and I saw my guy Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners. He had said he watched or listened to like a 2-hour podcast, and he said not one time did they bring up Trey Lance. And that's interesting because a couple weeks ago, everything, it was just Trey Lance, when he's going to play, like, is he going to start this week? Okay, he's probably going to start next week because the 49ers are definitely going to lose to the Los Angeles Rams, so he's going to be put in after that. But Jimmy has been able to kind of hold him off a little bit, and now it's to the point where he's kind of an afterthought in the game plan, and we don't even worry about it. It's just, if they get up to a big enough lead, when are they going to put Trey Lance in there to get him some reps, even if it's just handing the ball off?
Do you remember Back to the Future? I think it might be in Back to the Future 2, actually, when Doc is on a chalkboard and he draws the line, the timeline, and he says, he's like, this is the timeline, and here's the normal 1985, and then he draws a line and it's skewed off into the alternate 1985 because Biff had the book, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of what happened against the Rams. It was like, if they lost that game, it skewed off into alternate 2021, and then it would have been the Trey Lance show. And since they did it, they stayed on that normal 2021 timeline, and they're still in this, and they're still in the playoffs, and we're kind of talking about week 12 as we hoped we would about a playoff team and not let's look toward next year. And yeah, that's quieted so much talk about Trey Lance. But what's odd is Lance hasn't gotten in any games and even some situational stuff in red zone. And I would assume that would be a huge value. Maybe this is the week that everyone's kind of forgotten about it. And then they sneak attack the Vikings with a few snaps with Trey Lance in there. But Trey Lance isn't going to get any major playing time, it seems like, at this point. And it's almost as if that part of the playbook has gone away where he's not even a package player anymore.
I think that's the most interesting aspect of this whole thing, just not utilizing him at all or utilizing his skill set. I do think there are opportunities to be able to get him in and bring a different dynamic to the team, to where a team just has to worry about it, or a team has to game plan it, or maybe they didn't game plan for it, and all of a sudden the 49ers do it and they don't know how to defend it. I feel like there's ways to give you an advantage with using him. We saw them really get stuffed on the goal line last week against the Jacksonville Jaguar. I hope that's it. Jaguars. I feel like I'm butchering that. I've been saying
You
Jaguars my whole life, and
don't
people are
say
like, that's
wires.
not it.
Don't say Jaguars. I think that's the one. That's the one.
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Yeah.
All right. So the Jags. There was a time where they had a third and short situation on the goal line, and they elected not to go with Trey Lance, and they got stuffed. And I just feel like he can help in those situations. Now the tough thing is 49ers have been so efficient in the red zone that they haven't gotten to the red zone a whole lot, but they have been efficient when they get down there. I still think he can help. And Kyle's just going about it as if like no, they have the same skill set. Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. I'm talking about.
So it turns out this is not the Kurt Warner. This is a different Kurt Warner, but appreciate y'all the same there. Kurt, thank you for listening. Thanks everybody else for listening. I hope everyone is well and enjoyed their holidays. Don't forget to hit that button down there, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when a new episode of Locked On 49ers is coming up, and there will be another one later on today, post-game, talking about this one with the 49ers and the Vikings. Let's see.
I wanted to get to something real quick that last comment said, if you can kind of bring that back up.
Yeah.
So he touches a little bit on mental health stuff, and
Mhm.
me personally, like I feel like I don't go through anything from a mental health standpoint. Like I'm pretty much always like good, at least as far as my knowledge. But my wife, we went through something, with her that was really difficult time, and I didn't understand it at the time. I just knew like I had to be there for her throughout that, and I mean it was tough. I mean it had got to the point where I remember asking myself like, dang, like is my wife ever going to be normal again? Like it was really bad. And I think the one thing that helped her was that I was just always there for her, and I didn't judge her. And anytime she needed me, I was there. Anytime she needed someone to talk to, and we worked through that situation. So I see our guy here. I can't see his name on the screen or anything,
Oh, this is Kurt.
but okay, Kurt Warner. So shout out to you. Hopefully you have people around you that help you through that situation. If you don't, just shoot me a DM or something. You can have my number, and we could talk if you ever need anyone to talk to or anything. Because again, I mean, being up close and personal with that type of situation, it's scary and something that I never thought that I would go through. And it wasn't me; it was my wife. But yeah, I just kind of want to put that out there. So anybody, like not just Kurt, but anyone else, man, if you're ever going through something, you feel like you have no one to talk to, man, shoot me a DM. I mean, y'all know me from podcasting and stuff, but if you just need somebody just to hear you out and for you to know like you're not crazy and you're not alone in that situation, I'll give you my number. We could talk. There are a lot of people that go through the same thing you are.
That's fantastic stuff, and you can see on the screen our ats on Twitter at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker. Hit us up anytime, y'all, and you see it in the league, right? The pressure cooker of the NFL, and multiple players now, and Calvin Ridley has taken himself out of the scene for the Atlanta Falcons for a while. And in this game, Everson Griffin went through something crazy this week. And like you saw what's going on with his social media, and you're worried for his health and safety, and he's not going to be in this football game because of it. And it's out there, man. And it's not a unique situation, because a lot of people hide it and sweep it under the rug, but it's pretty clear that it's common and it's out there. And yeah, if you ever need somebody to talk to, hit up me and Croc. Put on the podcast. We're there with you all the time. There's fresh podcasts for you every day, and you'll hear our voices, and hopefully that makes you feel better, especially after a win. I'm sure it does make you feel better, and hopefully that's what we'll be talking about later on today. I saw a question here about Norman on. Here we go. This one from Sean. Norman, manning up on Jefferson. How you feeling about that matchup, Croc?
So I think in theory is like that's not a matchup that you want to see. And we do know the route runner that Justin Jefferson is. I think he does a really good job of really kind of setting up his moves and being able to kind of dictate where the receiver, how the defender plays him. But one thing I did note, I watched Jefferson against the Cowboys. And one thing they did to him, man, they were physical with him all game, whether it was in before the route, at the top of routes, and a couple of them, resulted in pass interference with Trevon Diggs twice. But They were so physical with him and aggressive, and it was almost like they took him out of the game. He had 2 catches for, I believe, 14 yards in that game. But a lot of it was just because they're physical with him. And I think there's an opportunity for Josh Norman. I get it. He's not the fastest of guys at the cornerback position. He's a little long on the tooth. He's older. But there's an opportunity for Josh Norman to be physical with him and potentially take Jefferson out of the game mentally. That's your best chance in the sense of Norman covering Jefferson, and maybe an advantage that the 49ers potentially could have.
Mitchell, Sermon season? Maybe. Mitchell is questionable. He's been limited at practice all week. He's dealing with the rib. He had the finger surgery. I get the feeling that Mitchell's going to play. Are they going to not give him a full? Usually when guys play, Kyle Shanahan's not afraid to give them their full complement of snaps. So I think we will see Mitchell today, but we don't know for sure. Hasty is still out. But if Mitchell's in, I think that means no Sermon. I feel like there's no combination of Mitchell Sermon. It's like either everybody's out and Sermon plays, or Mitchell's in and Sermon's going to be on special teams. Let's see. I mean, we're getting a little bit far ahead. Niners played the Rams last game of the season for the 5th seed. Okay, Niners go on a run and overtake the Rams. So we're not talking about wild card 6 and 7. We're talking about the 5 seed in the NFC. I like that. The 49ers can absolutely go on a run. They absolutely can go on a run. Let's go down here to some of the latest comments because I'm way behind looking at this thing. Here we go. Going back to your point, Ward's going to be an X factor in this game. I'd rather see Ward shade Jefferson with Norman and Mosley on Thielen. What do you think, Croc?
Okay, let me rather see Ward shade Jefferson. So he wants Ward over the top of Jefferson with Norman and Mosley on Thielen. Wait, so I think he's saying
basically
he wants Ward to guard. He wants Ward to cover Jefferson.
The way I read this is he wants Ward to kind of double team Jefferson with whichever side he's on, and then Norman or Mosley will be singled up on the opposite side on Thielen.
Okay.
I think that's
I can see that. That's kind of the New England Patriots way, where they will take their I mean, they do a whole lot of matchup stuff, but when they have Stephon Gilmore, a lot of times they put Gilmore on the second best receiver, and then they put another guy on the best receiver, but double cover that guy. They bracket him.
Mosley on Jefferson, Norman on Thielen. I think I like that matchup the best, just as far as styles. I think those styles match up better.
I feel like this isn't a team that really spreads it out big time. They have another guy I've seen kind of come in and make some plays, number 18. Kind of looks like a I don't know, he looks kind of like Devontae Adams on the field, but they have this other guy that I've seen kind of make a few plays.
Osborne. AJ Osborne.
Is that who it is? Ultimately, you want to stop the 2 guys, and really it's Jefferson. And the reason why is you want to focus a little bit more on Jefferson is because that's the big play guy. Those are the things that can hurt you or break your back. So yeah, you definitely want to keep somebody a little bit over top. I think Thielen wants to beat you more on just pure crossfairs and things like that. I think an underrated aspect of Jefferson's game is how good he is after the catch. So you don't want him to just catch a crosser and be able to outrun everybody. But you know what, man? I have a question for not just you, but everybody. We keep talking about Jefferson and these other guys and all that. What about the 49ers weapons? What about their receivers? Why aren't we talking about how just dynamic Deebo Samuel has been wherever they line them up? Why aren't we talking about George Kittle and his resurgence to the offense? Why aren't we talking about Brandon Ayuk and him coming? It was almost like we woke up a sleeping giant and he's been targeted more as of late and more involved in the games. I feel like the 49ers have just as many, if not more, weapons that are playing at a high level right now. And nobody's talking about it. All we talk about is how scared of Justin Jefferson we are.
Right. And the strength of the Vikings secondary is the safeties. So you're not going to put a safety on Deebo. You might put a safety over the top and help with Deebo, but you move him around so much, you might be wasting the safety in that point.
How do you stop Deebo? That's what I want. How do you stop?
He might be in the backfield. He's going to be in motion from this side to that side. He's going to be outside. He's going to be inside. He's going to. I mean, it's so hard to stop a player like that because you don't know where he's going to be. First of all, you don't even know what position you're trying to stop. So, what kind of a position are you going to use on defense to stop him?
I mean, and the tough thing is with Deebo, it's not like he's just going to whoop guys en route, but he can catch a slant and outrun an entire defense. And then, it's like, why aren't we talking about that? There was this thing yesterday where it had a bunch of guys like you can pick two of these guys to start your franchise with, and there was like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. It's showing all these guys. No Deebo Samuel, and I'm like, the disrespect for a guy who, when he's healthy, which he was his rookie year and he did well, and then obviously like his sophomore year, he was a little hurt. But this year, I don't think it's a coincidence that he's going off. I don't think it's a one-off that he's going crazy right now. I think he's just that good. And it's really hard to defend him because it's not your traditional way of winning, but he catches slant. He can outrun anybody. And if he's not catching slant, outrunning everybody, he can catch a deep crosser, outrun guys. And you can line him up at running back and he can, I don't know, average 9, almost 10 yards a carry on 8 carry. Like he was legitimately a running back last game. He was a running back. Yes. He wasn't a receiver last game, and still had 90 yards. Still impacted the game. How many young guys can do that in a game today?
One of his 2 targets last week too was a deep ball down the left sideline. I love the release. Jimmy could have put it out there a little bit more, maybe, but I don't care if it was incomplete. I want to see them try that again.
And so I put this on him a little bit. He did. He ran off on guy. He had him beat by a few yards. Jimmy left it a little short, but it still was an opportunity for him to come down with the ball. And he I don't know, it was almost like he tried to volleyball, like what are they called? The setters in volleyball. It was like he went up with his hands like this, and the ball just kind of ricocheted off his hands. I'm like, Deebo, you look really uncoordinated there. Go up and get that ball. So there was at least an opportunity. And I say this, with deep balls, okay, the ball was slightly underthrown or whatever. That's the lowest percentage throw a quarterback can make. And more times than not, it's the receiver adjusting to the ball to make a play. The likelihood of a quarterback hitting a guy just in stride down the sideline, not having a break shot, I'm just wide open, and he just puts it in the perfect spot, typically doesn't happen. So, yeah, I mean, Deebo, you just got to make that play. I put that on him a little bit.
And we've seen Deebo go up and snatch the ball away before too. So I don't know what happened there. If it was awkward, maybe he was looking at the wrong shoulder or something like that. But I think it's something they can utilize. And it's not really been the strength of the 49ers, and that's not the strength of their wide receivers. And even George Kittle as a tight end isn't an above the rim type of player. The 49ers haven't brought in that style of guy. And that's why every year I'm like, oh, God, can you guys bring in someone who's a little bit more linear, more vertical, someone who wins on deep balls, because it would help the quarterback so much more. Those relationships are symbiotic there with the wide receiver and the skill sets with the quarterback. So, maybe a quarterback's not the best deep passer, but if you've got a receiver that's really good at coming down with those balls, he'll make that quarterback's skill play up a little bit. The over-under on this football game is 49 points. I'm kind of with you here. He says, with the way we control the clock, I bet the under on Kirk Cousins 268.5 passing yards. What do you think? I feel like this has a chance to be an under just because of the way both these teams play, and especially the way the 49ers are going to play and try to keep away a little bit, most likely. And, Kyle Shanahan's trying to get to that 40 rush mark. And yeah, Sean says he wants to see a 14-minute drive. Why not just take up the whole quarter? I want to see one drive, one entire quarter, and I don't want to see the Vikings touch the ball until the second quarter. They go 3 and out. Then the Niners keep the ball the rest of the half. There you go. One drive per half for the Vikings. Niners win this one.
You know what? I got a bone to pick with some fans, and I've been talking. I feel like I've been pretty consistent on this. The 49ers secondary is not bad. Have I not been saying that the whole time? So everybody talks about everything like, oh, I'm scared of Norman. I'm scared of this. I'm scared. Oh, I'm worried about this. And now I'm worried about these 2 guys. When the 49ers throughout this season have not just really given up a ton of yards in games. So when I see 268 yards is the over-under for Kirk Cousins, I would take the under, because history shows you teams have not thrown for a whole lot of yards against the 49ers. If you guys want to be worried about anything, be worried about the D-line getting to the quarterback, because I think how people view the secondary, they need to flip that and view the defensive line in that way, where they aren't consistently doing their job outside of Nick Bosa, who's having a terrific year, but he's doing it by himself. There's no consistency from the pass rush with anyone else. That's more of the issue than the secondary is.
And I think the fans are a little bit late to adopt this new mentality that the 49ers have shown up with midseason. You shouldn't be worried about them. They should be worried about us.
Right. Oh, right.
Here's a question for you, Eric. Can you discuss how the Niners will stop the screens and passes in the flat to Dalvin Cook so we do not have another Arizona debacle?
Tackling. I think that was the one thing that I took away from the Arizona game. The tackling was just so poor. Gotta come in there. You gotta attack well. You gotta shoot. And I think they've done a better job of that since then. I think, just tackling in general hasn't been an issue over the last couple of weeks, but you got to continue that. And you did it against the Rams. You did it against the Jaguars. I feel retarded. I mean, I don't know if I can say that on here. Oh my god, I feel stupid
Yeah,
saying Jaguars. I don't know. I got to
Jaguars.
figure that out. But
That's the way to
they
do it.
did a much better job tackling against them, and you have to continue that. Tackle well, screens won't be an issue.
I agree.
I
Myles
mean,
Garrett.
and when I say not an issue, I mean like that's not what's gonna beat you like it did against the Arizona Cardinals, which most of it was lateral, except for a few like kind of trick plays that get balls downfield. I think you definitely, run sideline to sideline. Like they might get you. Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the NFL, so he's gonna get his at some point. Whether it's on the screen or a run, he's gonna have some nice plays. I mean, that's just the way my head works. I'm not gonna take that away from him. He's good too, but I think they would do a better job of just kind of limiting it to where like that's not what breaks your back.
Cook's going to make some plays. Jefferson's going to make, like, if in the first quarter Jefferson makes one catch on Norman, people are going to freak out and call Norman trash and start getting worried. They're good players are going to make plays, so they're going to make some plays. It's about limiting how many of those plays are. And I agree with you, Croc, when it comes to screens and some of those things and after the catch plays. And it's not so much scheme; it's just go tackle, go handle go do your job and handle your business. You mentioned a minute ago about the 49ers D line needs to eat in this game. Myles Garrett 1, TJ Watt 2. Is Nick Bosa the third best edge rusher in football? He's in the conversation for it. I wouldn't put him with those two guys yet, but Nick's right there with his brother. I'd probably take Nick over Joey at this point. He's got a little bit more juice to him. If there was a stat recently I saw about true sack rate, which is done by, I think, Brandon Thorne, who does a great job evaluating line play, offensive line play, and defensive line play. And Nick Bosa is right up there with how disruptive he is with defensive linemen in the NFL. And yeah, it's the eye test. It's statistically every way you judge a defensive lineman, Nick Bosa is a straight up beast. And I don't even think we've seen the best Nick Bosa yet. Yeah, I think he's definitely in that conversation. If not, he's right there at number 3 behind those guys.
True sack rate, man. Like these analytics and stuff, it kills me. Yeah,
So
like they
this one's not so much about, so a lot of the stats are they take like the over expected stuff. They take everything out of it and they try to simplify it, and it ends up sounding more convoluted than it actually is, but they try to simplify it with over expected. So essentially it's like, if a guy catches a ball at this part of the field, this down and distance, usually they get this many yards. This guy got this many yards. It's more than normally, but obviously there's so many other factors in that, right? But over the long haul and with a big sample, you can tell when one player's doing more after the catch or completing more passes than other quarterbacks in similar down distance. But Brandon Thorne's true sack rate is different. He's watching the tape. So it's closer to, say, a PFF type of thing where he's grading him. He's like, did you beat your guy? Would you have sacked the quarterback if everything else was different? Like maybe another guy beat you to it and sacked the quarterback, but would you have sacked the quarterback because you beat your guy and you would have gotten there before he got rid of it? And so that's what he's grading. So it's more of a tape grade than it is just a stat where, it's less of a spreadsheet, more of a tape grade, which I like. He doesn't
respect it, but you know me with the analytics stuff, and I'm trying to come along on it. But it's like people are using those arguments to tell you if a guy is good. When I'm watching Nick Bosa, I can tell he's hella good.
Yeah, you don't need all that to know that Nick Bosa is amazing. Yeah, he's awesome.
I think it was Scottie Pippen recently came out and was just kind of really talking bad about Michael Jordan. Right, I just saw these comments. He's kind of been on this like road of doing this over the last 6 months or not.
Scottie feel like he's in a bad place, but I think he might be just trying to sell a book.
I think that's part of it, but he keeps talking about Michael Jordan and saying all this and that. And it's like, dude, we watched Michael Jordan. Like, I watched him with my own eyes. Like, I saw what Michael Jordan did. Like, I'm not young enough. I'm 34 years old. I really watched him from when he returned back from baseball to, the 3 straight NBA finals that I was watching every game. Like, you can't tell me what Jordan wasn't when I saw it with my own eyes. And that's the same thing with Nick Bosa. It's like I can tell what he is and what he isn't, and I can tell if it's just it's a one off because well he just had a good year because of X Y Z. You know, you can factor those things in. Like maybe who was the edge rusher? I believe he went to Clemson. Beasley,
Vic
where
Beasley,
he
yeah.
had like this one outlier year where he had like 15 sacks, and you could tell like okay he's coming off the edge doing good, but you know just kind of how he was doing it is like yeah is this sustainable? What Nick Bosa does, it's 100% sustainable. So whether you have him as the best pass rusher or or a fifth pass rusher, I know one thing: he's damn good, and there aren't a lot of guys in the NFL I would take over him. I don't need analytics to tell me that.
No, you don't need it. And a lot of times what I go for, what I utilize stats for is to confirm what you already saw with your eyes. It's the same with draft prospects, right? You get 40 times. It's like, is the dude fast? He ran a fast 40 time. Makes perfect sense, right? The other one is like when a guy looks like he's fast, runs a bad 40 time, then you got to go back and figure out, okay, what's going on here when those two things don't match up. So yeah, trust your eyes. When the stats match your eyes, then you know you're on the right track. If something seems really off, then you know either your eyes are off or this stat is not really telling the whole story. And there's a lot of small sample stats that don't really add up. But a lot of times it's not surprising when you see a stat about Deebo Samuel doing whatever over expected running after the catcher, how disruptive Nick Bosa is. It's like, yeah, no S. We watch the games. We already know these things, right?
Yep. I got a question for you.
All right.
If the 49ers were to lose this game, I don't want to put that in the atmosphere and all that, but if they were to lose this game, what would be one thing that you attested to? Like, what's one thing where you're like, 49ers lost this game because they didn't do this or they did too much of this? But just one thing.
If they lose the game, it's a bad game script. I would say that the Vikings score first, the 49ers get away from the run game a little bit, and Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball to the wrong team. I think that's the
I
script to
told
lose.
you to tell me one thing. You just told me like three
I mean,
things.
they all kind of go together because that means, you know, like essentially, that's why Shanahan has the 40 runs thing. Because if you're running 40 times, that means the scoreboard's in your favor. You know, it's like you didn't win because you ran 40 times. You're able to run 40 times because you were winning, type of thing. So the scoreboard is huge, and I'm really interested to see if the 49ers can come back from a deficit. And look, the Vikings on offense, they've got a number. We've already talked about all the things that they can do. They're a good team on offense, and they could put up some quick strikes. So what if they score first? What if the 49ers get down early? It's up to Jimmy G to make some big plays, not just you know some nice third downs and some nice long drives, and then you kick a field goal at the end of it. That might not cut it in this game. So I want to see some big plays. I want to see some gouging runs, and I want to see some throws down the field. Maybe, you know, they might have to play a comeback, and if I want to see if the 49ers can do that. We haven't really seen that mode of 49ers yet this year. If they can't play bully ball, can they still win a football game? So I think game script is pretty important for this team right now, but I believe they can. I just haven't seen it yet.
Real quick, I want to let everybody know, man. Thank you, everybody who's in the chat right now and who's interacting with us. Make sure if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're new to YouTube, but we are really close to hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark. So help us get there. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us.
Yeah, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers in our first week here. That's a really important milestone for Croc and I. So appreciate everybody who already has subscribed. If you haven't yet, make sure you go hit that button for us because you're going to want to roll with us daily here on Locked On 49ers. Turnovers. If there's one thing, it's turnovers, right? I think it's nailed here.
Yeah, I would say that. And I put that on both sides of the ball, right? Like the thing with the 49ers that was very interesting early on with games, and I struggled with this. I'm like, I don't know why they're losing. Like, this is not a bad team. But they were definitely doing too much of shooting themselves in the foot. And we said it, like, man, that could be, the key to the victory every single week. 49ers, you can't turn the ball over and you have to take the ball away. I think a big issue, and I talked about the defense, but there weren't enough of the defense taking the ball away early on and giving the 49ers offense more possessions or better field position. I think if they can kind of continue that and stay on that path, that's what's really going to help them maybe more than anything else start getting some of these. Because think about it in the Colts game, right? If the 49ers, that's a bad game. That's bad because I think the 49ers took the ball away several times in that game. It was the
Yeah, well,
penalties in that game.
that one's a tough game. I think you got to throw some of it out because of the weather. That
Yeah.
was a wet, sloppy game. That one was. Oh, here we go, Croc. This I don't think U.S. Army 88 was at the beginning of the chat. He's going in on the corners,
Ooh.
but the corners. I did start to get worried in the Colts game. Weather was part of it. Carson Wentz is like, well, there's no problem with me throwing it deep. Nothing bad is going to happen right now. And he just kept chucking it on him, and they went and won the football game. That one worried me a little bit, but again, weather. If you throw that game out, the corners have been pretty darn good this year. I'm not as worried about it as some people are, but a lot of people think the corners are garbage. I think there was a combination of injuries with the corners and then the safeties on top of it, and then you didn't have Ward back there. It starts to get a lot more difficult, and then especially if your defensive line can't get home. But I don't think it's as big of a problem as a lot of people do. And I know you agree with that, but some people think that the corners are just absolute garbage. And I think they're above garbage, above over garbage expected.
The issue is, I think a lot of 49er fans don't watch other teams. So they look at every single thing. It's like with your kids, right? You can you see your kids every day, and everything that they do bad, you're like, oh my gosh, like my son, he does this, he does that. Like, gosh, this is so annoying. Can't believe he does this. And then it's like, you know what? Go spend time during the holidays with some of your family and see how their kids are. And you're like, golly, I thought my kid was bad. This kid's way worse. Go watch some other NFL teams and watch their secondaries and how poorly they play. The 49ers are nowhere near garbage. Like their corners, nowhere near garbage. You have but to get that perspective, you have to go watch other teams. And I'm a football junkie, so I just sit all day and watch football. Even when the 49ers are playing, I have my TV on the 49ers. I got my laptop on, uh, red zone and all that. Like, so I see everything that's going on in these other games. 49ers corners, nowhere near as bad. Safety, nowhere near as bad. Now, if you tell me, yeah, take away Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tart, and I have to play Hufanga in some roles that aren't ideal for him. I got Tavon Wilson out there, and he has to play. Now, okay, obviously you lost Verrett. You start kind of compiling all those things, then yeah, it can be an issue. But just in general, like what the 49ers are stepping out with today, with Norman, Mosley, and you got Tart, Ward, Hufanga, Williams in the slot. It's a good safety relative to the rest of the NFL. There aren't shut down guys anymore. You have like two of them in the league. You know what I'm saying? You got Jalen Ramsey and I don't know, but I bet most people right now, 49er fans would be like, oh, I love Trevon Diggs. Oh, we've heard that, right? Like Trevon Diggs, he was a second round pick. 49ers could have gotten him. He has like the most pass interferences called against him, and he's giving up more yards than anyone else in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he has the high interception number, so people get blinded by that. But I would go as far as to say Mosley has played better this year than Trevon Diggs.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Mosley is one of the more becoming one of the most underrated corners probably in the NFL. It's to the point now, especially the way coverages are being played in the NFL with everybody helping everybody and the way things are disguised. And I think the same point you made about corners and defensive backs should be made about offensive line. Everyone thinks they have a terrible offensive line until you see a bunch of other teams play and see how bad some other offensive lines are around the league. And to me, you can be amazing on one side of your offensive line. If you got a swinging gate somewhere, it's going to be difficult and they're going to be beating you there. And it's kind of similar with the defensive backfield. I think there's a lot of similarities between an offensive line and a defensive backfield, especially this day and age, where if you look around the league, a lot of teams have a lot of problems with those units, and those units really have to play together. And it's better to have, it's better to have 5 good ones that play together as a unit rather than one guy who's amazing on one side and you just got a target on your back on the other side and you can't cover anybody.
When Deebo Samuel is catching passes and running off on DBs and stuff, like, who do people think he's going up against? Like, just air? Like, no, he's murdering an opposing team's secondary. When Justin Jefferson's catching bombs every week, like, who is he catching bombs on? Like, it's secondary members. He's outrunning corners. He's dogging guys. Like, but I think people focus so much. Like, if you're a 49er fan, it's just like Niners, and you point out every little flaw that you see in a specific game. Man, watch some other teams. And you might have a newfound respect for the 49ers secondary. They play well.
Man, we got We got listeners and watchers from everywhere. Shout out to a bunch of you I've seen from California, the 559. I was up and down Highway 99 for the holidays, going and checking out the family. We got from listeners from Saudi Arabia here. I love that. This thing's global, and I love that stuff. So it's fantastic. You talked about red zone. It's almost time to fire up the red zone. These games are going to be coming on in a minute, so we got to get off here before those games do start, because I know we're both going to be locked into those games. Crocky, any last thoughts here before we go? Before we see this game, do you have any late predictions? Anything that's jumped up late in the week that you didn't think about earlier on when we were doing our podcast?
Oh man, I'm really excited, man. Like this really, it almost feels like a playoff atmosphere. I hope Levi Stadium is rocking. I hope 49ers can get back-to-back wins at home, something they haven't done in I don't know how long. That's going to be cool to see. But, I think Kirk Cousins, what he is, what he isn't, that's what's going to be interesting to see, because there's two versions of Kirk Cousins that shows up. One that can go toe-to-toe with anyone, and there's another one who kind of becomes a shell of himself and wants to trick off games. We kind of seen that from 49ers quarterback as well, but I think even more so from Kirk Cousins. So I'm curious to see what Kirk Cousins is going to show up. The guy with 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, or the guy that consistently tried to throw the ball away last game against the Packers, and the Packers just, got the roughing the passer penalty when he threw an interception. Another one that was just flat out dropped by a defensive back that hit him right in the chest. Which Cousins is going to show up? And if it's the one I'm thinking, 49ers win this one big. Let's go.
I'm with you. Niners big in this one. The more I think about it, the more I like the way this is looking for the 49ers with that defensive line really in shambles for the Minnesota Vikings. Don't get behind, man. Don't get behind early. I think that's just the biggest thing. And I love this. 209-559 all around the world, the state of California. There's going to be a strong group of folks from California here. We got Long Beach in the house too. We got Daryl's listening from Seahawks country. Fantastic stuff. All right, it's go time.
Where are my Stockton people at, man? Real 209.
Come on.
That's the real 209, man. Where are my Stockton people at? Let's go.
I think Leo is about to make an appearance over here. Leo, do you want to say hi before we go on the live stream? Yeah, you do? Okay, come on over. You better hurry because we're about to go. We got a big 49ers fan over here in the house. Leo, he's got his bed head. Yeah. Say hi to the folks.
Hi.
Nice.
Fantastic stuff. All right, everybody, have a good day. Oh, there's people Delaware. There's people from everywhere. Orlando, Florida, the 416. I don't even know where the 416 is. Modesto. We got a Modesto Junior College alum over here. Oh, I don't know if you're an alum. Did you graduate from Modesto, JC, or did you just ball there for a while?
I got my associates from there, so
there you go. Yeah. Montana. Oh, this is great. I kind of want to just see where everyone's from here. Virginia, Ohio. Holy crap.
This is why the 49ers travel so well. Like, these people are from all over.
It's amazing, man. Northside Stockton. Here we go. Here's Darius. Oh, wait. I think I clicked the wrong one. Oh, this is going crazy. They're coming in so fast. I can't even click on the right one.
We got a Northside Stockton. That's what's up.
There we go.
No, I'm from Northside.
We got Darius.
There we go. Okay, he from Quail Lakes. Okay, I already know. I'm from Northside of Valverde Park, so I already know. I know. Yeah, Quail Lakes. I'm familiar with it.
Alabama, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Gainesville, Florida, Mexico. Yeah, I love that. Fantastic stuff. All right, we got to go.
Right.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up on the live stream. Make sure you hit the subscribe. Tell a friend about Locked On 49ers, and we'll be back post-game to break it all down right here as we do daily on Locked On